A nearly sold-out O2 Arena in London, 2 tag title changes, a heel turn nobody saw coming, and a sit-down interview that felt more like a confession than a promo. And that was just one episode of Monday Night Raw. Today, we are breaking down the June 22nd, 2026 edition of WWE RAW in full. You'll know every match result, every grade, and exactly which moments are going to define the road to Night of Champions. I've got someone who watched every single second of this show, so let's get right into it. Walk me through what kind of night this was overall.
This was a genuinely stacked go-home show. WWE was live from the O2 Arena in London, England, with a special 2 p.m. Eastern start time on Netflix. According to the results from Joshua Lopez at the Hoots podcast, the venue had 13,428 tickets sold, with only 167 remaining, so basically a sellout, and the crowd was electric from the jump.
A near sellout in London. That's a big deal.
It really is, and WWE leaned into that energy immediately. The show opened with Obafemi coming out to a crowd that just would not stop chanting his name. He literally had to ask them to settle down multiple times before he could even get a word in.
Okay, so Obafemi opens the show. What was he actually saying?
He was building toward Night of Champions, where he faces Jey Uso in the King of the Ring finals. His whole promo was about destiny, he said, and I'm quoting directly here. "Since I was born, I've been backed by destiny, and she's been very kind to me. It was destiny that allowed me to slay the beast." He's talking about Brock Lesnar there, and then he posed this question to the crowd. If he wins King of the Ring, does he go after the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship?
And the crowd told him exactly what they wanted.
Loudly. The World Heavyweight Championship got a massive reaction, which means they want Obafemi versus Roman Reigns. And then Jey Uso interrupted, did his whole extended entrance through the crowd, which Wrestling Inc. noted he was actually huffing and puffing by the time he got to the ring because it went so long in London.
That's kind of hilarious.
It is, but G's promo was solid. He said they've counted him out every time, when he won the Royal Rumble, when he won the World Heavyweight Championship, and they're counting him out now. He told Oba he's going to silence the haters and shock the world, and that after Night of Champions, he's taking it to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam.
And Oba's response?
Ice cold. He said, "When you shoot, don't miss, because if you do, I will destroy you, and if you don't, I'll still destroy you." And then the line that got the biggest reaction of the whole segment, he told G that Jey isn't the family member he's really worried about, meaning Roman Reigns. He told G to pass that message to his cousin.
Oh, that's a great line. That's the kind of promo that makes you actually want to watch Night of Champions.
Exactly. And it set the tone for the whole show. From there, we went straight into the first match, which was the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, Paige and Brie Bella defending against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria.
Okay, this is the match everyone is talking about. Not just because of the match itself, but because of what happened after.
Right. So before the match, Bayley and Lyra did a backstage interview where Bayley said they have ultimate trust in each other. Lyra said this was the big one, that it was supposed to happen at WrestleMania and it didn't. And tonight in London was their moment. So the match itself was really good, back and forth. Both teams had control at different points.
How did it end?
So Lyra hit the Fisherman's Buster on Paige and had her down, but she didn't go for the pin. She hesitated, and Paige capitalized and hit the Rampage to retain the titles. According to the results, Paige and Brie Bella are still your WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. That match got a grade A.
But then the real story happened after the bell.
This is where it gets wild. Bayley goes over to Lyra to give her encouragement. She hugs her and Lyra just snaps. She throws Bayley into the ropes, transitions into a vicious ground and pound attack, drives Bayley face first into the middle rope, and then plants her with the Nightwing. Producers and referees had to physically hold Lyra back.
So Lyra Valkyria just turned heel on her own tag partner in London, in front of a crowd that was already going crazy.
And the thing that makes this so effective is the setup. Bayley said before the match that they have ultimate trust. Lyra said tonight was all or nothing. And then the moment it goes wrong, Lyra completely unravels. The reviewer called it a game changer for the women's division on Raw.
I mean, it really is. Lyra has been kind of floating without a clear direction, and this gives her a whole new identity. What happened when Jackie Redmond caught up with Bayley afterward?
Bayley was in the trainer's room and had nothing to say. She just walked away. Which honestly is the perfect reaction. She's completely blindsided. She had no idea this was coming.
Okay, let's talk about the Chad Gable segment, because that was another one that people are going to be talking about for a while.
So Chad Gable comes out and calls Alpha Academy to the ring, Otis, Maxine Dupree, and Tozawa. He delivers this genuinely emotional apology. He talked about losing his mask in Mexico, but said the mask wasn't the only thing he lost. He lost his self-respect, his reputation, his dignity, and his friends.
That's actually a pretty heavy promo for a wrestling show.
It was. He told Maxine she won a singles championship that he himself was never able to win. He told Tozawa he tried to hold him back. And then he got to Otis. He said they've been friends for 20 years, trained at the Olympic Training Center together, were tag team champions together, and that Otis held his daughters in his arms the day after they were born. He said he threw all of that away because he wanted the Intercontinental Championship more than he wanted the friendship.
And then Maxine stepped in.
Maxine completely took over. She grabbed the mic and said, "Chad, there was a time when I believed every word that came out of your mouth, but I can finally see clearly, and I see that everything about you is a lie." She reminded him of specific moments, making her get on her knees to beg him not to hurt Tozawa, threatening to take his belt off and whip Otis. And then she delivered the line of the segment, "This apology is for you," meaning it's not for them, it's for his own redemption arc.
That is such a sharp observation. The apology tour is a selfish act dressed up as generosity.
Exactly. And she closed it by saying they're going to leave him the same way he left them, alone. Shoved the mic into his chest, walked out with Tozawa, and Otis looked back at Gable one more time before walking out too. That segment got a grade A.
Maxine Dupree just became the most interesting person in that storyline in about 2 minutes flat.
She really did. And it sets up a really compelling question. Does Gable actually change, or does he revert? Because Otis clearly wanted to forgive him. That tension is going to carry this story forward.
Before we get to the main event, let's talk about the Seth Rollins sit-down interview, because that felt like a different kind of segment.
It was. Corey Graves sat down with Rollins and asked him directly, has he made progress toward his goal of destroying the Vision? And Rollins gave this really honest answer. He said WrestleMania didn't work for him, Backlash wasn't his night, and then he said something that I thought was genuinely surprising.
What did he say?
He said, "I don't know if I would be sitting here talking about this with you if it weren't for the Street Profits." He credited Montez Ford for checking him when he needed it, and Angelo Dawkins for giving him grace when nobody else would. That's a big admission from Seth Rollins.
It's almost like a character who's been humbled, which is not the Seth Rollins we're used to seeing.
And then Greaves pushed him. He said there's a realistic possibility Rollins doesn't walk out of Riyadh at all from the steel cage match against Bron Breakker. And Rollins said, "I know the risk." He said sometimes you have to put all your chips on the table to find out who you are. He said the last time he won the World Heavyweight Championship, it wasn't in the most upstanding way, and this cage match is going to tell the world who Seth Rollins really is. That segment got a grade A.
That's a really well-written promo. Okay, let's get to the matches. Ethan Page versus Dragon Lee. How was that?
That match was excellent. Dragon Lee came out firing, Hurricane Rana, somersault plancha to the floor, flying double axe handle off the apron. He was absolutely flying. Page managed to slow things down and take control during the commercial break, but Lee kept fighting back with a springboard tornado DDT, a running cannonball senton over the announce table.
So, how does Page win?
Dirty. Page hit an inadvertent low blow and then connected with the egoplex for the pinfall. The reviewer gave that match a grade A as well. And it's worth noting that Page had Rusev in his corner and Lee had Rey Mysterio, so there's a whole secondary story building there.
And then LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso. That one had some bloodline drama attached to it.
Yeah, so the match itself was a solid back and forth. Knight and Jimmy were trading haymakers, chops. Jimmy hit Uso in the wind, Knight hit the DDT. But the finish came from outside. Solo Sikoa emerged from the crowd and hit Jimmy Uso with the Samoan Spike, his own bloodline member, which allowed Knight to hit the BFT for the pinfall victory.
Wait, Solo Sikoa cost Jimmy Uso the match?
He did. And there's context for that. Earlier in the show, there was a backstage segment where Jacob Fatu revealed he had delivered a message to Solo on SmackDown by orders of Roman Reigns. So Solo showing up and attacking Jimmy feels like a response to whatever that message was. The bloodline is fracturing in multiple directions right now. That match got a grade B.
Okay, and before the main event, we also had the Liv Morgan and Io Sky face-off. How did that go?
Io Sky was being interviewed by Jackie Redmond about the Queen of the Ring finals at Night of Champions, and Liv Morgan interrupted to remind everyone she's the greatest women's world champion of all time. She said when she wins the crown, she'll make history as the first ever women's world champion and Queen of the Ring winner, and then she'll go to SummerSlam and take Rhea Ripley's title again.
And Io didn't just take that.
Not at all. Io fired back in Japanese, Liv sucker punched her, and then Io hit a springboard missile dropkick to close the segment. Short, effective, and it got the crowd fired up for Saturday.
All right, the main event. The Street Profits challenging The Vision for the World Tag Team Championships. This is the one that had the most moving parts.
This match had everything. The Vision, that's Bron Breakker and Austin Theory with Logan Paul in their corner, jumped the Profits right after the bell. It was a long, physical match. The Profits had their moments. Dawkins hit the slam dunk, they hit the Doomsday Blockbuster for a near fall. But the Vision kept finding ways to cut them off.
And then the chaos started.
Logan Paul got ejected from ringside after putting Theory's foot on the rope right in front of the referee. But Paul snuck back with brass knuckles. And then Joe Hendry's music hit. Hendry came running out to chase Paul away. Theory was crawling toward the brass knuckles when Seth Rollins' music hit, and Rollins came in from behind and clocked Theory with those same brass knuckles.
So Rollins used Logan Paul's own weapon against the Vision.
Exactly. Breakker saw Rollins and completely abandoned Theory to chase him into the crowd. That left Theory alone in the ring. Dawkins hit the spinebuster, Montez Ford went up top and connected with the frog splash, and the Street Profits are your new World Tag Team Champions. According to the results, this would be their 5th tag title reign. That match got a grade A.
And it also added fuel to the Rollins versus Breakker steel cage match at Night of Champions, because now Breakker is even more furious.
That's the genius of the booking. One match paid off multiple storylines simultaneously. The Street Profits get their title moment, Hendry returns after being laid out by the Vision, and Rollins gets one more psychological edge over Breakker before they're locked in a cage together. CBS Sports gave the main event an A- grade specifically.
We should also mention the Danhausen segment because it is genuinely one of the more absurd things that happened on this show.
So Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough stormed into Danhausen's laboratory demanding their money back. Apparently Danhausen spent their $100,000 on new science equipment. Danhausen cursed JD, Dom said JD was uncursable, and then JD immediately electrocuted himself by touching the equipment. He lost his memory. The reviewer gave that segment an A+.
An A+ for a man electrocuting himself in a laboratory. I love professional wrestling.
And Jason Statham was sitting ringside watching all of this happen, by the way. The results noted that actor Jason Statham, UFC welterweight fighter Michael Page, and others were in the house. So Statham watched JD McDonough get electrocuted by a curse. Just a normal Monday.
Okay, so when you step back from everything that happened on this show, the heel turn, the title change, the apology segment, the sit-down interview, what does the overall picture look like heading into Night of Champions?
This show did exactly what a go-home episode is supposed to do. Every major match at Night of Champions feels more meaningful after watching this Raw. The King of the Ring finals between Obafemi and Jey Uso has real stakes because of that opening promo. The steel cage match between Rollins and Breakker has emotional weight because of the sit-down interview. And the tag title picture just got reshuffled completely.
And the Lyra Valkyria turn gives the women's division a completely new dynamic going forward.
That might be the most significant long-term development of the whole show. Bayley and Lyra had been building as a team, and the fact that Lyra snapped in the moment of defeat rather than in a calculated way makes it feel real. She didn't plan this, she just broke. And that's actually more interesting than a premeditated turn.
What's the overall grade you'd put on this show?
Looking at the individual grades from the results, the women's tag match was an A, the Chad Gable segment was an A, Ethan Page versus Dragon Lee was an A, the Danhausen segment was an A+, the Seth Rollins interview was an A, the main event was an A, and LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso was the only B on the card. This is a top-tier episode of Raw. The show earned its near-sellout crowd.
Here's what really strikes me about this show. Almost every segment had a clear winner and a clear loser in terms of the story, but the loser always walked away with something interesting to do next. Lyra loses the match and gains a heel turn. Gable gets rejected and now has to figure out who he is. The Vision loses the titles, but Breakker has a cage match to look forward to.
That's really well put. Good storytelling means nobody leaves empty-handed in terms of narrative purpose. And this Raw understood that. Even the